Hey guys, Barky here, and welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're new. Today we'll be covering the Zelda Iceberg, so strap in, grab yourself a Coke Zero, and enjoy. By the way, most of these entries focus on Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time, which makes sense because there's a lot of creepiness in both of those games, so there are more theories. The reason why this iceberg doesn't include Breath of the Wild is because I'm dedicating an entire video to just Breath of the Wild. It'll have its own iceberg, and it'll be awesome. Just wanted to get that out of the way. Let's get right into it. Well, by the way, this video is sponsored by Raid Shadow. I'm just kidding, it's not sponsored. CDI Games. A company called Philips Media published 3 games based on the Legend of Zelda franchise in the 90s. These games were released for Compact Disc Interactive Player, or CDI. The games were Link, The Faces of Evil, Zelda and the Wand of Gamelon, and Zelda's Adventure. These games are not canon, but some people even consider the games to be blasphemous to the franchise itself, citing the rough controls and bad animation. Link's Crossbow Training. This is an obscure Zelda spin-off game made for the Wii and released by Nintendo in 2007. This is the first Wii game to feature the option to integrate the Wii Zapper into the game. It reuses several assets from Twilight Princess, a Zelda title released for the Wii a year prior. The point of the game is to get the highest score in all 9 levels by being a good marksman. Water Temple Hate. The Water Temple from Ocarina of Time is almost universally hated because of its borderline agonizing difficulty. You have to first figure out how to breathe underwater and stay at the bottom of the lake, and then you have to get iron boots, and when you put them on, the game physics are all different. You constantly take the boots on and off, and the levels of the dungeon are so weird, so navigating the dungeon is seemingly more difficult than it should be. And there's so much more. It's truly a moment of relief when you beat it. Moldorm. Moldorm, or Big Moldorm as this entry refers to, is a recurring worm-like boss in the Zelda franchise. I first encountered him in the Tower of Hera in A Link to the Past, and let me tell you, this was hard. I was not expecting this guy. I fell into the gap in the floor more times than I can count. It's unbelievably hard boss battle if you're not prepared. Moldorm also appears in Link's Awakening, Triforce Heroes, and A Link Between Worlds. Shipping. We've got all kinds of shipping in this franchise from the fanbase. I've seen Link and Zelda, obviously, Link and Ganondorf, Zelda and Ganondorf, Link with the girl version of himself, Dark Link and Zelda. I mean, the list goes on and on. Mario references. There's a metric ton of references to the Mario franchise in Zelda. You can't tell me that Talon and Ingo aren't direct references to Mario and Luigi. In Twilight Princess, there's a guy named Friar who sells human launching cannons, and the dude literally has a bonsai bill on his sleeve. In Majora's Mask, the mask salesman has a Mario mask on the wall. In Ocarina of Time, there are Mario portraits on the wall inside a building. They weren't even trying to hide that one. In Link's Awakening, you can get Mario figurines. It's really great to see a great franchise pay homage to another great franchise, even if they're owned by the same company. Zelda 2. This entry refers to Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, widely regarded as the most hated, most frustrating Zelda game of all time, and I completely disagree. When this game came out, I rushed to the store to buy it and put it in my fresh new NES. Okay, I'm not that old, but this was the first Zelda game I ever played, and I really do think it's the best one. The soundtrack is great, the vague story is great, the game is super hard, and I think that's a good thing. You're given just enough instruction to know what to do and where to go, and the entirety of Hyrule is open to be explored. There are a ton of hidden things to discover, and the story just doesn't progress unless you want it to. This is an ending you have to work really hard for. And it's not as if a lot of the other Zelda titles don't have these things. It's just that I know a lot of people dismiss Zelda 2 because people hate it. And if the description I just gave sounds like something you'd want to play, then for sure give it a try. Protagonist name confusion. Link's name is not Zelda. It took me a solid 5 years to learn this. I didn't have access to the internet for a lot of my childhood, but I did have a Game Boy, and despite the giant Link on the Zelda 2 cartridge, I for some reason still thought that Link's name was frickin' Zelda. I'm not alone in this either. A ton of people in the 90s and 2000s thought this as well. Leave a comment if you also thought this. Link can or can't speak. A very good portion of the Zelda fanbase believes that Link can't speak or is at the very least mute. But it's been revealed in Breath of the Wild in Zelda's journal that Link chooses not to speak because he believes that it is necessary to stay strong and silently bear any burden. He does speak in the CDI games, which are once again not canon, but he can be heard saying "come on" in Wind Waker.
Come on!
I ran a poll in the community tab of my channel, and the winner of the funniest comment competition goes to Alexis_GTS, who said, quote, "Link can speak, but ever since he said, 'Excuse me, princess,'
Hey, excuse me, princess."
Zelda has ordered Link to never speak. And you know what? That's my headcanon. Link is dead in Majora's Mask. This is one of the most popular theories about Majora's Mask. It states that the experience of Majora's Mask is Link's journey of accepting his own death and dealing with grief. The theory states that the land of Termina, where Majora's Mask takes place, could be divided into 5 sections, each representing one of the 5 stages of grief. Clocktown represents denial, Woodfall Temple represents anger, Snowhead Temple is bargaining, Lulu represents depression, and Ikana Valley represents acceptance. If you want to learn more about this, definitely check out Game Theory's video on it. Unicorn Fountain. In some beta images of Ocarina of Time, young Link is shown standing near an interesting Gray Fairy's fountain. This fountain has 3 horse heads sticking out of a small fountain in the center, and is surrounded by a small pool of water. People nicknamed this place the Unicorn Fountain, but some common rumors are that the Unicorn Fountain was going to appear in Eura Zelda, an unreleased expansion pack for Ocarina of Time, and the entrance was the unused alcove in Zora's domain, and Link would obtain the Triforce here, and Link would possibly learn the Blade Beam attack that is shown in the previous beta images. Master Quest. Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time Master Quest is a reworked version of the original Ocarina of Time. The Master Quest contains largely the same content as the original Ocarina of Time, but with redesigned, more difficult dungeons, akin to a second quest. Master Quest was first made available for the Nintendo GameCube on a special bonus disc that also contained the original Ocarina of Time. This disc was given out in limited quantities with pre-orders of the Wind Waker, and additionally, it was sold packaged with the Wind Waker in some regions. It is also available as a mode in Ocarina of Time 3D after first completing the regular game. Sunsong freezes redeads. The redeads in Ocarina of Time are susceptible to the Sunsong, and when played, they're stunned for about 30 seconds. Since they're blind, you could just walk slowly by them or wear the iron boots, but sometimes stunning them with a song is more fun. Been Drowned. Been Drowned is a 3-part ARG created by Alexander D. Hall. It was originally a creepypasta based on Majora's Mask. The story follows a college sophomore that acquires an N64 cartridge, only to later find that it's haunted by this evil entity, Ben. During the recorded gameplay, Ben manifests himself in the form of the Elegy of Emptiness statue, an action which he repeated each time the game was played. Ben demonstrated the ability to switch the game from Majora's Mask to Ocarina of Time at will, and the abilities to alter video footage and make posts online. It's a very interesting creepypasta, and one that creeped me and my siblings out when we heard it all those years ago, and it's still a classic to this day, even if it's not scary anymore. Beat the Running Man. In Ocarina of Time, it is actually impossible to beat the Running Man in the race to Kokiri Forest. No matter how fast you are, you'll always finish before you. Of course, there will always be legends of someone's cousin or friend beating the game, but you wouldn't know them, they go to a different school. Pianta in Mario Sunshine is the Running Man. When El Piantissimo's mask is removed in Super Mario Sunshine, he bears a striking resemblance to the Running Man mentioned in the previous entry. Is this Nintendo reusing sprites, or possibly a reference in Mario to Zelda? Let me know what you think. Someone's house was on top of the well in Ocarina of Time. According to Professor Shikashi, the house of the man who could see the truth once stood on the location of the well. This is a reference to the item found inside the dungeon, the Lens of Truth. It is presumed that the lens once belonged to the owner of the house. What happened to his house and the man who lived in it, nobody knows. Shopkeeper murders Link. In the Link's Awakening remake for the Nintendo Switch, if you steal from the shopkeeper, he'll literally kill you on the spot after saying that you'll pay the ultimate price. After this, your game file name will be changed to Thief, and everyone in the game will call you that. The only way to change it is to literally delete the file and start a new game. L is real in Ocarina of Time. In The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time in Dodongo Cave, there's a stone tablet. If you check it, you can see the same texture used in Super Mario 64's Castle Courtyard on the statue. It is speculated to say L is real 2401, with the bottom text being illegible. This could be a reference, it could be a reused texture, or it could be both. But it's a nice Easter egg, even if it is unintentional. The Bazaar owner is a ghost. The Bazaar owner is a character from Ocarina of Time. He is a large bearded man who owns and operates the Bazaar. When Link is a child, the man can be found in his shop in Hyrule Castle Town. The Bazaar owner is a friend of the Death Mountain Trail gatekeeper, and if Link first talks to the gatekeeper, he can receive a discount on the Hylian shield. There is some speculation that he's a ghost because his sprite doesn't have legs. That's literally all the evidence there is for this theory. He's a ghost because he doesn't have legs. Solid logic, I gotta admit. Tail Cave is a torture chamber. Tail Cave is a location in The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, and is the location of the first dungeon in the game. If you take the optional stairs before the boss, you'll see skeletons hanging from the ceiling. The stairs themselves serve as an exit if you fell down the hole from the boss room. Some have taken the skeletons to mean that Tail Cave is a torture chamber, hence the display of death. But that's really all there is to this theory, and there are plenty of other dungeons in the franchise that represent the idea of torture chambers, such as the Shadow Temple in Ocarina of Time. The Running Man can dimension hop. This is a joke entry on the Iceberg that states that the real reason why Running Man is in Super Mario Sunshine in Ocarina of Time is because he can dimension hop. By this logic, I guess Mario and the rest of the gang can also dimension hop, because we see Easter eggs of them in the Zelda games. Marine turns into a seagull. In the Wind Waker, when the Windfish is awakened and Link awakens from the dream, Marin will fade away, as does Koholint Island and the rest of its inhabitants. However, if the player manages to complete the game without dying, it is implied that Marin manages to escape the dream with Link. Her wish is granted, and she flies away to share her voice with the world. In the original version of Link's Awakening, she retains her human form but has grown wings, and in Link's Awakening DX, she becomes a seagull. Jabu Jabu is bigger on the inside. Jabu Jabu is a character from Ocarina of Time that the Zora worship. If you bring a fish offering and lay it down in front of the Jabu Jabu, you'll be inhaled. This entry is referring to the fact that the interior of Jabu Jabu is noticeably bigger than his sprite size in the game. You can walk around inside of him, fight enemies, meet jellyfish, solve puzzles, go on a search and rescue mission for Princess Ruto. This guy's a massive TARDIS with multiple levels, and that definitely isn't apparent just by looking at him while you aren't inside him. Ken Levine lost his girlfriend to Zelda. The BioShock creator Ken Levine has always been really into games, and even lost his first girlfriend because of a gaming binge. He says, quote, "After I graduated from college, I moved to an apartment in San Francisco with the first super serious girlfriend. She was a couple of years younger than me, so at the end of the summer, she was set to go back to school," explains the game designer. "On our last day together in San Fran, I for some reason picked up The Legend of Zelda. As she stood by waiting for some romantic gesture to happen on our last day living together, she was instead treated to watching me obsessively plow through Hyrule for around 15 hours. By the time the cab showed up to take her to the airport, I realized that if I had any chance of keeping her as my girlfriend, it was time to shut off the NES. Needless to say, we didn't spend the next summer together." Wow, bro. Power move. And that's the end of The Legend of Zelda Iceberg. Thanks so much for watching, and if I didn't cover something that you think is a great piece of unknown trivia from the Zelda franchise, I'd love to read about it in the comments section, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.